And so the question tonight is, where is Bethlehem? Where is Bethlehem? Oh, we could look it up on a map or in an atlas. We can Google it and find out that it's at 32 degrees latitude, 35 degrees longitude, or vice versa. That it's 100 miles south of Nazareth and about 5 miles west of Jerusalem. Where is Bethlehem? We could find it on a map. We could find it. We could Google it. Father Greg was just there a couple weeks ago. Not in Bethlehem, but in Israel. He couldn't get into Bethlehem because of security restriction. Not on him, on the city. About 3 weeks ago, when we had our last student mass, a young girl came up to me and she said, Father Jack, I'm going to Israel for Christmas. And on Christmas, I'm going to be in Bethlehem. She was so excited. Most of us probably won't get there, will we? Maybe somebody here get to Bethlehem? Maybe some of you, you've been there, Patty. Maybe some of us will, but most of us probably won't. Huh? We won't go to that city, but that's the historical Bethlehem. That's the geographic Bethlehem. That's the political Bethlehem, where most of us probably won't go. But there's another Bethlehem that comes to us this night. That's the Bethlehem which is the place of Jesus' birth. Not on a map, not on an atlas, but somewhere else. In that setting of the poem by Effie Smith Ellie that Roland Martin did, The Shepherd's Vision. We heard it before, we're going to hear it again during the preparation of the gifts. You can look at the text, it's in your program. It's just so wonderful. Upon the dim Judean hills, the shepherds watched their flocks by night, when on their unexpected gaze outshone that vision of delight, the fairest that did ever rise to awe and gladden earthly eyes. That first verse sets the stage, and now here comes the answer. From no far realm those shepherds came, treading the pilgrim's weary road, nor there's a vigil or the fast within the hermit's mean abode. And here it is. 'Twas at their usual task they stood, when dawned of matchless task. Not only on the sage and seer life's revelation comes in grace, often on the toiler true who, working steadfast in his place, looks for the coming of God's will, the glorious vision shineth still. So it's not by pilgrimage, it's not by being a hermit, it's not Bethlehem that we find the glory of God, but in the ordinary, in the mundane, in the everyday, in the routine, like these toilers working steadfast, each one of us in our place, in our office, in our classroom, over the kitchen sink, at the bedside of someone who's sick or dying, in those regular places where we stand our tasks. That's where God appears to us. That's where Bethlehem comes to us. For those who can't make the journey of Passover, they pray, faithful Jews pray, next year Jerusalem, and some die without ever making that pilgrimage. And so they have the consolation of verse 5 of Psalm 84 that says, Blessed are those whose strength is in you, in whose heart are the highways to Zion, or sometimes translated, in whose heart are the highways to Jerusalem. And tonight we can say, in whose heart is the road to Bethlehem. Because the place where Jesus is born is not on a map. The place where Jesus must be born this day is in our hearts. That's easier to say than do, because it requires some change on our part, because we become so concretized in our lives. And it's hard to move from the certitudes that we've constructed to a faith which requires us to trust in things that can't be proven. It's hard to move from the guarantees the world so easily provides for all circumstances to hope which calls us to trust in things we cannot. It's so hard to move from love that we fashion with ourselves at the center, to a love that surpasses all of our imaginings when we are within God's embrace. And yet that is where Bethlehem calls us to, and that's where Bethlehem seeks to be in our hearts. The medieval mystic Meister Eckhart said it this way. He said, "It matters not if Christ was born in Bethlehem hundreds of years ago, if Christ is not born in our hearts this day." And what does Bethlehem mean? The word translates as house, and in that house of bread, the eternal word becomes flesh. And then in an upper room, that flesh becomes bread. And at this table, in a few minutes, we will receive that bread to become flesh in us. And that flesh, the house of Israel, house of bread, must be the Bethlehem within each one of us, this and every day. A place where Christ is born again and again and again. Let us stand and together profess our faith.